Learning target 4 says I can list all of the major organ systems in the body and describe their major function. Hopefully in class you got an opportunity to try to name the organ systems and have an idea of how many there are, but we're going to look at 11 different organ systems and what they do for us. The big thing to remember, we talked about levels of organization. Everything in our body works together, and if it doesn't, then that's when we run into problems. So even though these organ systems, we're going to discuss them separately, and we're actually going to learn about them individually throughout the year, they all depend on each other. And if one organ system starts to go, most likely it's going to start affecting other things in the body. So let's get into it here. First one is the integumentary system. Integumentary system, easiest way for you to think of it is the skin and everything associated with it. We call those accessory structures. So your integumentary system says it provides protection, regulates temperature, prevents water loss, houses sensory receptors, and helps produce vitamin D. Okay, so a couple of those things are pretty obvious. Helps protect us from things getting inside of our body, regulating temperature. How's it doing that? Well, it has sweat glands in it that helps us regulate our temperature. Doesn't allow water to get out. Sensory receptors, think of like nerves and nerve endings on the outside of your skin. You can feel heat and cold and touch. Those would be sensory receptors. And vitamin D. Vitamin D is really, really important, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the integumentary system in a few weeks. Next one is the skeletal system. Again, probably one you've heard of before. This is the bones, cartilage, ligaments, joints. It's the framework for our body. Everything is built off of our skeletal system. And that skeletal system and the framework it provides really gives you your structure. You know, how tall are you? And how long are your arms, how long are your legs, or whatever it may be, has to do with the growth and development of your bones. Provides framework, protection. How's it providing protection? Well, really three main areas that it provides protection. The first one's the skull. The skull is going to help protect your brain. Your rib cage, we call that the thoracic cage. That's going to protect your lungs and your heart, as well as some organs in your upper abdominal cavity. And then your pelvis, which would be right here. Your pelvis protects your lower reproductive organs. Another thing that your bones do is this process called hematopoiesis. Hematopoiesis is the production of blood cells. Okay, so in the bone marrow inside your body, we produce blood cells, and that's what helps provide blood to our body. Muscular system, again, pretty obvious. These are the muscles. What do muscles do? They do a bunch of stuff. They help us move. Your muscles and muscular system are the main source of body heat. So if you think of when you're sitting at the bus stop, or you're sitting in the stands on Friday night and you're shivering, well, you're shivering because your muscles are trying to generate heat and help us maintain posture. Another part of the muscular system are tendons. Tendons are what attaches your bones to your muscles, or your muscles to your bones, I should say. So muscles and tendons are part of the muscular system. Lymphatic system. This is one that is not real obvious to a lot of people. Your lymphatic system, a lot of people might think of this as the immune system. Okay, what's the immune system doing, or the lymphatic system doing? It removes substances from the blood and helps us to fight disease. Okay, and removes these things called pathogens. A pathogen is any foreign body or any foreign thing trying to get in there and cause you damage, like, say, a bacteria or a virus. The job of the lymphatic system is to hopefully filter those things out and not let them cause any damage. Does a few other things there as well. Tissue fluid balance. So every tissue in your body has certain fluids inside of it. Lymphatic system is going to help us maintain those levels and helps with absorption. If you've ever heard of a lymph node, we have tons of lymph nodes throughout our body. And then like an organ like the spleen is part of the lymphatic system. The respiratory system. If you have watched the video about respiration, respiration is the exchange of gases. Well, here we have the lungs, we have the trachea, the larynx, the mouth, the nose. All these things are part of the respiratory system that brings oxygen in and releases carbon dioxide. Why is that important? Well, helps us do a lot of processes, also helps us regulate our blood pH, and we'll talk more about that later in the year. Digestive system, again, a pretty obvious one. Most people can name the digestive system pretty early. Bring in food, break it down, absorb the nutrients from that food, and then get rid of the waste. So there's a big, long tract, and we'll talk about this later in the year. It's called the alimentary canal, but it basically starts right at the mouth and goes all the way to the anus. And it goes mouth through the esophagus to the stomach, to the small intestine, to the large intestine, to the rectum, then the anus. And then there's some other accessory organs in there, like the liver and the gallbladder and the pancreas, which are very important parts of the digestive system. Nervous system. Nervous system, this is our communication. It says a major regulatory system that detects sensations and controls movements, physiological processes, and intellectual functions. What does that mean? Basically, it's sending electrical signals and it's allowing our body to communicate. So, for example, I put my hand on a hot stove, it feels hot. I send that signal to my brain. My brain then says, hey, dummy, move your hand. The stove is hot. So I move my hand. That communication through those synapses, through those electrical processes, allow those signals to happen very, very quickly. And it allows our whole body to communicate. The endocrine system, this would be if you think of glands around your body, and you see a bunch of them listed here. But these are going to impact your metabolism, impact your growth and reproduction, and it has tons of glands. There's some big ones throughout the body: the thymus, the thyroid, the pancreas, which I mentioned a minute ago, ovaries in females, testes in males. Excuse me. But the big thing that they are doing is secreting hormones. Hormones will alter the metabolisms of the cells that they're trying to target, and then it kind of helps control those cells. Cardiovascular system, heart and blood vessels. Your heart pumps the blood throughout the body. When it pumps that blood is transporting stuff. What is that stuff? Well, it's a lot of stuff. It could be nutrients that cells need. It might be wastes that cells have produced. It could be fluids. It could be salts. It could be sugars. It could be electrolytes. It could be ions. Your blood transports a lot of stuff, and the heart's the main pumping vessel, allowing that to happen. So what are the parts of the cardiovascular system? Well, heart, blood vessels. So we're going to learn about a lot of blood vessels later in the year. And then we have these things called capillaries, which are really, really tiny blood vessels, and obviously the blood. Urinary system, this is where we're going to get rid of wastes. All the blood in your body is pumped through your kidneys. Your kidneys will filter out any of the wastes or any excess water, and then we go to the bathroom. Okay, so this is a very important part of homeostasis of not just waste products, but also the balance of water in our body. So there's a couple main structures involved with this. We have kidneys. Kidneys filter the blood and send that fluid into the ureters, which carry it to the urinary bladder. And then finally, it leaves the body through the urethra. Then we have the reproductive system. We have both male and female reproductive system. Female's reproductive system is producing these cells called oocytes, and that's where fertilization is going to take place. That's part of fertilization. And then they will develop a growing fetus within the uterus, also producing milk for a growing baby after it's born. So female reproductive system is going to have ovaries, uterine tubes, uterus, vagina, mammary glands, and structures associated with all that. Obviously, the female is producing these oocytes, which are going to be our egg cells. The egg cells are going to be fertilized by the males. Males are going to produce sperm cells. And both of these, if you remember from biology, are haploid cells. So when the sperm cell fuses with or fertilizes the egg cell, we produce a diploid cell, which turns into the growing fetus. The males are going to produce that sperm in their testes and then release that sperm through the penis. And that is it for that learning target.